So, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Whoop, cheek. There we go. Cheers, cheers, cheers. So, today on the Gold Coast Muso's Jam Chat, live from the lockdown. I shouldn't have been rushing my dinner before I come downstairs to do some broadcasting. But tonight we're going to talk about, and this is from Steve, good topic, about how we go about actually learning material. So, actually putting an ensemble together. But this process is individual. So, what we're going to discuss from different points of view, from different instrument players, how we learn the music. So here we go. We got Steve. Welcome. How you going, sir?
Hey. Pretty
Pete.
good, mate.
Doug, Steve,
Bergie, and the
How you
other
going,
Doug.
brother?
Hey,
Other
everyone.
Doug.
Other Doug.
So if anyone would like to join tonight, please
Another
send.
Doug.
Probably send Steve a message or send me a message. We'll sort you out. Got it up. So who would like to go first? Maybe Steve. Do you want to go first about how you learn material?
Mate, yeah, look, in the old days, it was we went off an album or a tape, which was quite time consuming. So it was very repetitive. But I think as times change now, we've got multimedia, so you can, and obviously because CDs makes it a lot easier to go backwards and forwards over a particular segment of a tune. But for me, mate, it's all memory. Like I'll just play the song over and over and over again till I can remember it. And I'm one of these old school guys, man. Like you don't go and see Deep Purple in concert and they're reading off an iPad. You know, like you just don't.
Might be a purple iPad, mate.
Yeah, look, the only time I've actually seen something like that is poor old Ozzy Osbourne, man.
He's got a prompter. He's got a prompter.
Probably 12 years ago. Yeah, he did, mate. Teletext in the front of him down the stage because he just can't remember. And when you're 510 years old, well, that's understandable. So, sorry, Ozzy.
I was going to say sorry, Pete. So
mate, yeah, for me, like,
That's all right.
Good idea.
Okay.
He's going next. He's going next.
I'm only here for my wisdom.
Okay, so Steve,
So
you're talking about just by memory, by rote, just listen.
Yeah, just keep, pretty much repetition, man. That's how I learn. So I understand. Like I said, some of the gigs I get booked for can be 4 and 5 sets. So you're up to nearly 5 hours of music, which you're in the 56, 60 song category area, and that's a lot to get your head around. I'm just lucky that having a band, full-time band for 3 years, we had at minimum nearly 4 hours of material. So we would practice that week in, week out religiously. Every week at the studio, we go through the set list. We'd introduce only 1 or 2 new songs a week if we wanted to. But it got to a point where we could not play for a month and we'd know the songs inside out because you've played them so much. And when I get booked for, because the band for me now has changed. I only have 1 regular member, permanent member, a drummer, Carl.
What about
and
yourself?
I draw the other members in depending on what the brief is. Yeah, mate, I fluctuate every now and then. Depends how many cups of these I have.
Fair enough. Yeah, bro.
So,
that's a good point. Hey, Don.
Yeah, no, mate. Like for me, because I bring in different members, and it depends on what the brief is, what the band's booked for. It depends on the song choice. So I will get everybody that I've put together and let them send me a list of material they know. I'll cross-reference it all with everyone, and then it's a matter of who's got the time to learn what. And then if it's a song that I've never played before, I will create a cheat sheet for me that I'll stick on the floor, and it's in the order of the set list pretty much. So I just need to know, remember, what key it's in, what the first few bars are, and then I'm usually off.
Right.
There has been 2 incidences, mate, where that hasn't worked. The last gig, a song I've played, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times, and I completely forgot how to play it. And And that's only ever happened twice in the last probably, I don't know, 10 years. And it's pretty embarrassing, man.
Oh, fair enough.
Not
And
good.
so what about Pete being a drummer for, learning songs as a rhythm section perspective? Are you visual, charted out, or do you learn it by rote, by ear?
Well, I can do both, which I
Bit
sort
of
of
both.
yeah, but I can do both, and I have done both, but it's mainly listen to the song, get together with the guys. What Steve's saying is interesting because what that highlights is that there is somebody within the band unit that's in general running the numbers for the rest, everybody else. So there's a level of leadership there that's always required, and it's often it often goes unnoticed and unrecognised in a lot of respects, but it's absolutely essential to have that somebody pushing things along. So mainly for me, if I'm in a band, somebody will come along. I'll either just go along. Most cases, I know most of the songs. Because I'm 115 years old too, there's not much that I haven't heard. So where I do struggle a bit, in the jam nights, in some nights is when some of the youngies come along, and I'm not that familiar with perhaps some of the stuff that's over the last 10 years or so. But in general, I can just wing it and get away with it. And again, like we've spoken to previously as well, if I'm linking well with the bass player, we're 95% there. We can wing ourselves around any song you want to throw at us. We're fine. In fact, you'll think you're playing a song, but we're playing something else and sounding better.
But I like what you just said before. Is that
sound like a singer, Pete?
Yeah,
yeah, mate. Yeah.
As a rhythm section player, I think you highlight I'm just highlighting what you just said there is you have to listen. So, so when you're even not playing your instrument, you need to be listening and growing your vocabulary of songs. So when you do sit down to jam, you can draw on that because, I've heard that before. I know when to turn the corners. As a drummer, I teach my students on ensemble practice is that the drummer is the indicator of the vehicle. So when the fill starts, the musical car is turning a corner, whether we're going to go into, stops or we're going to go into double time or half time. The drummer leads, but then more importantly, the drummer turns the indicator on, but everyone else agrees and amplifies that energy by playing more rhythm and dun 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 dun, and then, I don't know why I keep using these gestures, but I do. But I like it. I like what you just said there. So
it does happen on jam nights too. I've been in situations where I'm playing a song that I've never played on the drums before. I know the song, but I've never played it on drums before. And if I know the song 99 times out of 10, you won't know that I'm absolutely shitting myself during the whole song. But I'm getting away with it because I know it. And I'm watching the bass player and I'm watching the singer. I'm watching what's going on, so I can bluff it most of the time. Right. And it's all about keeping your antennas up, watching what's going on, and in particular complimenting the singer. He's the guy out the front that if it goes wrong, everybody's going to look at him and go, "Oh, that was crap." But so yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry.
Me.
No pressure.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, what about we go to Bergie? What's your take on learning material?
From a personal, like as a guitarist, it's just these days. There used to be a tape. I used to get 5 or 6 songs on a tape deck, hit play them through, rewind, keep going again. These days it's YouTube. You can't go wrong. There's a mug who's put up a solo for every solo of every song. You know what I mean? They're all over the place. There's no excuse not to know a song now. I'm not big on being like the mirror image of the band I'm playing, but there's some songs that you do have to, like if you're doing Pink Floyd, The Wall, that solo should be right. You know what I mean? There's some that are, that have to be right, but out of 90% of the songs we play in the band, I make up my solos on the spot. Unless it's something like The Wall and you play the thing out. So,
whoops.
Yeah, so I think if you, it's repetition. It's all repetition to get the memory. But I think it's with practicing, it's more being able to look at the next guy on stage and look at him and give him a nod, and he knows what's going on. You know what I mean? Or that's as important as learning the song. I'm sure we've all been there where you've gone, oh, what chord? What key's the song in? Yeah, it's in C. Yeah, oh yeah, right. Yeah, I'm right now. You know what I mean? You have that mental blank. Someone says, yeah, it starts in C. Yeah, away we go. You know, but
Right.
I don't know. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Okay, that's cool. And what about Doug? The other
Yeah,
Doug?
the other Doug. I sort of use a bit of what a lot of others have mentioned. I'll usually get a recording or put a CD together of a bunch of songs and just play them everywhere in my car and everything, and just immerse them in my head. So I've got the arrangement, I've got the changes, or the, what did you call it before, Doug, when you're turning corners or whatever?
Indicators. Yep.
Indicators. So I get all that in my head, and then when I'm sitting down to learn them, I'll either do it by ear, or if it's a tricky piece, I've got a couple of apps that I use. One, Songster, which is kind of a tab of popular songs, which are quite often wrong, but it's usually you can get close enough. And the other one I've got is a thing called Riff Station, where you can just download the song into the app. You can grab a piece of it and just cycle it, and you can slow it down without losing tone or anything else like that. So it stays in the same without losing pitch, should I say.
That's awesome.
What is that called? What's that called? I'm got excited.
It's called Riff. Yes, cheating. Absolutely.
Cheating.
Right. It's called Riff Station.
Riff Station. Googling as we speak. Oh.
So you can grab a piece and just have that on repeat and slow it down without losing pitch, and it's fantastic. The other thing that I really like is, as a band anyway, is practice and practicing as a band. And there's so many people nowadays that don't seem to like practice, right? And it's sort of like, here's a CD of the songs, go and learn them, show up and play. I think if you're going to do that, you might as well show up and play the CD, right? In my opinion. I think that the practice is about, that's how you as a band put your slant on it. That's how you get trust about where everyone else is going and knowing the nods and everything else like that. And that's how you make it your own. I still like practice so long as it's meaningful and targeted and you're actually creating something new. I'm not a big fan of here's the CD, show up on Saturday night. That's just me.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting point. So we go to Don. How do you learn songs?
Yeah.
Okay. So I reckon there's a few parts to it for me. So I guess the first part, if I've got to work on a song, the first part I pick up on, if you like, is the melody. So it's just the melody and where that travels kind of through the song. The next part for me is obviously the lyrics and understanding if there's a story to go with it. So if there's a story, so there's a bit of a narrative in it, that certainly makes it a bit easier to remember. Certainly when you're trying to, I guess, tell the story when you're singing as well. Usually what I'll do then is I'll kind of work line by line and then verse by verse. So I'll kind of build one line on top of another. So one line, get that sorted, then move to the second line, get that sorted, go back first, second, then to third line, and then slowly build the picture that way. Once I get a bit of a handle on the lyric, it's then starting to work on the tone and the feel. But certainly initially in that initial stage when I'm trying to work out lyrics, it's getting the chops and listening to those musical cues. So what you touched on before, guys. So listening to little musical cues that go, okay, yeah, this is going to happen now, or this is when this happens, and whatever. So, but yeah, it's basically steadily building it bit by bit. Usually what I do is I have a lyric page and I make notes on it. So I've got that visual. So when I get away from it, I've still got that, I can think about that visual and those little cues on the page as I get to know it kind of better. But yeah, as you get more comfortable with the lyric, it's then starting to work on the chops and the tone, really just trying to get the sound right to get the music away. Now get the expression and the feel of the song the best you can once you get into those parts. And then if I'm before a gig and I'm nervous, I'm not quite sure where it's at, I'm not quite confident with it all, I'll run through the really tricky parts. So the really hard parts or the bits I keep forgetting. So just run through those beforehand, and I find that's a really good little psychological game to get you more confident to push through those bits of the song when you play live. I think what Doug said about playing live with the guys is is cool because it always changes when you do get together and play. But yeah, I think that's essentially how I build it. So it's little bit by little bit, and it's quite time consuming. But yeah, I find that's the best way to learn the lyric and then also kind of musically, hopefully, do the song justice.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey,
Hey, Tony.
How we doing? Yeah, good. Got the red wine. I'm laughing.
Oh, jeez.
Just only allowed. I'm only allowed one glass.
It's a bloody big glass.
You're gonna make it a big glass.
Come on, flag.
Half a bottle.
Holy-
So
Where are all the parrots, Tony?
It's a wonder they're not in here. Actually, they'll be flying in sooner or later. They always come in and annoy the crap out of me and stand on my head and on my shoulder and whatnot. But
They look like a lot of fun.
they are, mate. My little family away for the Jamily.
Yeah. So when are we going to Jamily again?
Mate, I did actually call into the Saltwater Creek earlier in the week.
Yep.
And I didn't speak to Phil, the manager, but I spoke to Michael, who's the duty manager most nights there, and he said that they're probably not even looking at opening until the middle of July.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that doesn't necessarily mean the jam will happen when I've got to, work out those details with Phil to see whether or not, as soon as they open, they want us back in or not. So it'll all be under the whatever rules that they're governed by, and whether or not they can afford to have us. But quite frankly, they can't afford not to have us, can they?
Exactly.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Get about 1,000 people on the first night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First night.
I bet
Very
you I'll bet you there'll be restrictions though. But looking forward to getting back to it all, and hopefully that'll happen as soon as they open, and we'll have plenty of time to prepare and publicise before it does.
Very good. Well, we're just
Well,
talking
we're all-
about learning lyrics, Tony. Do you have a process learning lyrics?
I'm the only way for me to learn them truly is to sit down and listen to the song over and over and over and over again. I have been given the tip that sometimes a good way to learn lyrics is to write them out. Even if you've got them written in front of you, is to write them out, and that seems to secure them in your brain a little easier, a little better. It's like when you meet somebody. If you meet somebody that you haven't met before, and they say, "Oh, this is Doug," I go, "Hi, Doug. How are you? Nice to meet you, Doug. What do you play, Doug?" If you say that name over and over a few times, you don't forget who you're talking to. So that's just something I had from years ago as a photographer, to be honest. But, So, writing them out will probably sink them into your head a little easier. Having said that, I haven't done anything like that at all. I've been too busy renovating the house with lots of LED lights and LED light doors and all that sort of stuff. So that's been my project to keep me occupied so I don't go completely insane.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know what happened to Captain Steve.
I don't know.
Where's Captain Steve?
Did you drop him out to put me in?
He's got a few internet issues. But
okay.
rock and roll.
He's got a few issues.
Tonight, so if you need to jump out, I can bail.
Okay, no problem, man. I'll swap you out for Steve. Steve's back now. Well, thanks for coming on, Don.
See you guys.
Hey, Dom.
Good to see you, Don.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Oh,
Here you go, Steve.
Hey, there he is.
Hey.
We can't hear you, Steve. Look like a puppet. I mean,
Hand
not
Muppet.
normally. Just, no Muppets. You might have to unplug and replug your audio
He's
headphones.
muted. You're muted, Steve.
Oh, hang on. Here we go.
Yeah.
You've muted yourself. I can't unmute you. You've got to do it yourself. Unmute.
Well, that was clever.
microphone.
Hey.
Are you there
Still
now?
can't
Do I look that dumb when I'm having problems with mine?
Oh yeah.
No, you might have to go off and go back on, Steve.
Oh, he's
You might have to
frothing now. Look at him.
off and off. Go off.
He's frothing.
Okay, so over to Pete. So we talked about actually charting the song out and listening to it. So let's say we're listening to a song of some descript, and you want to try and remember a part. And besides actually, listening to it, do you have any mental cues about how to learn it? Oh, I just might mute that. That's. Do you have any mental cues about how to get through or remember a part of a song? For example, maybe using a phonetic if you're using a drum fill, like da 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 da. I don't know. I'm just
not as specific as that. It'll start with the big picture of like a helicopter up and have a look at the big picture of the song. And in general, with most songs, there's a pattern that pretty well repeats all through the song. Although, as you know, in comes that wonderful middle eight, or a chorus that's different the second time round, that sort of thing. So you've got to just be a bit careful about those. The only way you'll not get tripped up out of those is to study them beforehand, or like Doug says, rehearse them. But if I'm in a band and everybody's not too familiar with the song, and I know there's something tricky coming along, I'm only playing it probably. I'm not really putting my best foot forward if it's a bit uncertain. So practice makes perfect, and if you want to be really, you want to be really good at anything, you've got to practice a lot.
Okay,
I have
cool.
I just wrote down before, there was one instance that we had, I won't mention any names because they're all brilliant people that come along to the jam, but I've had an instance where somebody has said to me, "Oh, do you know such and such a song?" Led Zeppelin song out of the Thor movie it was, and this person's good singer came along. Yeah, I know the song. No, so I just in general say yes to everything, and see what happens. So what I did was I got my phone, because I wasn't too sure how it went. And I got my phone, and by the time I'd walked from this person onto the stage to sit behind the drums, I'd Googled this, I'd YouTubed the song, and just listened to a couple of bars of it. It looked like I was ringing my stockbroker, but I was really, checking out the song, and that saved me. I sort of reconfirmed the feel and the pitch of the song. It's quite a tricky song to play, The Immigrant, but we got through it, and there you go. But having said that, that could potentially be a disaster. Tricky song, not everybody knows too much, particularly jam night. It's a recipe for it falling off a cliff. So you go back to Doug's solution. Practice. There's no substitute for practice, and there's no substitute for leaders in a band bringing in the right material.
Yeah, it's come up as a problem in the past that someone will say, yeah, do you know this song? And you go, yeah, I do know that song, but you'll find that their version, or the version that they know, is not anything like the version that you know, and that can sometimes cause some troubles or worries. But you've got to not just know, do you know this song? Do you know Led Zeppelin's version of this song, or do you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Because each band tries to put their own sort of accent into it, and that's what happens. Is you end up when in trouble because three people in the band could be playing three different versions of the same song, and it can happen.
Right.
I've also had someone say, "Do you know the song?" And I've gone, "No, I don't." And they've played it anyway, so it's like the other end of the spectrum.
That's what happens. And Doug, if you remember, there was a song we played with a gentleman, a really good guitarist, you and I played it, and it was some sort of, I can't remember what the beat was. It was like 11/8 or some crazy beat to it, and because I had the song beforehand, I'd listened to the song a lot, So I sort of pretty well had that, and we were able to bluff our way through it, and we got through it. Sounded pretty good actually. But in something that was fairly pretty complex, I'll put the work in because the risk factor goes high. I don't want to look too silly. I don't want to look sillier than I already look actually.
Well, I think you know, getting back to whoever's you know, in the front line of the ensemble, if they give clear directions of when, you know, using their instrument to cue or using their hand to gesture.
Yep.
That, you know, you can drive fast, but it's just learning how to turn corners, you know, so you don't roll it.
Great analogy.
And what about if we go to Bergie? How do you learn hard stuff or remember hard stuff?
Yeah, mate, obviously over and over and over again. And as I get older, I'm finding like if I don't stay on top of it, it falls out the head really fast. But I can still play solos that I learnt when I was 16 years old, and I've got them because maybe because they are the first harder ones I've done. They stay in your head. You never forget them. These days, if I haven't practiced, I get real rough, and it's. Whoa, where's that coming from? Yeah, I don't know. But
you're practicing now, mate, mentally. Wow.
Yeah, I tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing, but is I hate it when musicians won't have a crack at something, right? So if you turn up to a jam or you turn up to even a band practice or something like, and you're like, what about this one? And it's like, it's in C, let's just have a go. And then the bass player goes, oh, no. I've got to go home and practice. I've got to go home. And it's like, for Christ's sakes, mate, just have a go. No one's judging you, you know? And I think doing that is a major part of being like an on the spot, on stage, being able to swing it. Like, fella, well done.
Yeah, well done.
Because he's your brother up there. And it's like, next time it'll be me, and all I'm asking for is one person to go, good work. It's a karma thing, mate. And
payback,
I don't care if they
pay it forward. Yeah.
Everyone at the jam night at Springwood, if they get up and play like a bag of snot or they play great, I don't give a shit. You get the same applause from me.
Yeah.
Either way, good on you, fella. Well done. Champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's important. I think that's important.
It is
important. Hang on to that thought, Bergie. Hang on to that thought.
Mate, I'll do a duet with you. We'll go wild, mate.
Yeah, mate, we'll sort you out.
Go, Steve.
Yeah, what Pete was saying about the nerves, mate, it's about caring. If you didn't care about how you're going to play, or if you're going to upset anybody, or if you weren't going to be up to the standard of your mates, you wouldn't have nerves. You'd just be loose and just wouldn't give a shit. I think the nerves thing is because you actually really do care.
Oh shit!
Good point.
And the thing about the difference between jamming and playing with a band, I mean, when you've got a band, you rehearse regularly. You know your material. You get to know the people you play with. You know all the little idiosyncrasies. You know how they play things. When you get four guys that can read each other inside out, that's a rare thing. But for me, that's what a band is. And there's less nerves because there's no surprises. Jam night, it is, mate. Jam night, completely different story. No rehearsal, no practice, and you know who you're playing with. And the problem is now is that we've got guys, man, that the level of musicianship is up here, So, you've got to step up a little bit. And like Tony says, it's all about everyone has to enjoy it. But if you're the one that's playing bad and the other three guys aren't enjoying it because you're not with it, I'll tell you what, mate, the anxiety starts to ramp up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it's a hard call.
Yeah. But then again, it's about, I honestly believe pushing people a little bit beyond their comfort zone is a good thing for them as a musician.
Yes, it is.
Not too far, but just make them stretch a little bit, helps them, and it makes. And if you're up there with lesser players and you're pushing yourself beyond the limit a bit, that gives those people that are up there with less experience more confidence in what they're doing.
True.
Yeah, there's
True.
another side there too, but because you can really scare them off. Like we've Tony and I, we've had people go, "I'm not playing after that." Like,
Yeah, don't ever do that to me again.
Let's go home. Yeah, look, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
So I think the thing for me, mate, is that
Yes.
we get
Tony, you can't.
there's different scenarios, man, where you get people want to get up there and play a particular song, and they want to play it how the song was written. For me, in a jam night, that's not the deal. The deal is to ad lib and have a bit of fun with it and make it your own and share it with everybody that's on the stage.
Get outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Get outside the comfort zone.
And I think the biggest problem, not the biggest, but some problem we do have with certain people is that they don't play to the weakest link. They just keep soldiering on and hoping that the poor bugger's going to get his shit together.
Yeah.
And he's not going to do that. And the longer it runs for, the worse he starts to feel within himself. So for me, I'm quite a happy man to dumb everything down to the lowest denominator.
Yeah.
So that everyone gets along as a unit. But but I know, man, like we've met certain people that this is how the song goes, this is how it's got to be, and that's it, you know? And that's pretty tough sometimes.
You play that in your band. You don't play that at a jam.
Yeah.
If you want to be militant, then you can be like Joe Schmo and the Pussycats or whatever, and you're in charge of everything that goes on. You know what I mean? Like, but if you're turning up to the jam night, look, I've been to Thursday night and Friday night, and the Saltwater is a step above the Springwood. Right?
Yeah.
But the Springwood is only 2-minute drive from home, you know, and so I don't even jump up there unless you're running short on people. Now I'm quite happy to stand back and just drink beer, you know what I mean? which is cool as, you know what I mean? But
I love getting you up, Berg, because you get up there and you have such a great time, and you lift that crowd because you're up there having a fucking ball, man. You know.
We got up there. We had one night, that guy, mate, he had a good voice, and he got and goes, "Do you know Aussie Crawl?" And I'm just like,
I've never.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, what's that? Do you know that song?" And I'm like, "Oh, fucking not really," but I had a crack, and I got to go, and then he stood there like a stunned mullet. I don't know the words, I just like the song.
You and me had it happen, and he bailed out.
Yeah, we ended up playing Boys Line Up or something to get out of it. Like, hell. Christ. Which is cool. Look, like, I don't mind that sort of. I actually really love it when you absolutely go head down, ass up into something, and you have no idea where the end of it is, and somehow you get out the end and it's like, hey, that didn't hurt, you know what I mean? That was all right, you know? And I don't know, the Springwood seems to be like a learning curve. I think it's like the learner plate of the jam night.
Yeah. Sorry, Troy.
Mind you, there are a couple of good acts to get. That little metal band that play, I love them getting up. I think they're bloody.
Devane.
Yeah, I think they're bloody great.
Yeah,
I bought that CD. I bought that CD, and it's, you know, like, mate, I love it. I think it's great, you know.
Sorry to interrupt. I have been hearing a little bit of it. So the Facebook broadcast is broken, but the YouTube broadcast has been consistent. So I think it was terminated. I don't know, whoever may have been sharing it might have accidentally hit end broadcast because I just. Anyway, I've got Graham here in the background, and Troy. I'll sub out again. Does anyone else want to sub out? Because we are still live. We are still live on YouTube. Okay, here we go. And I'll just jump out for a sec. Hello, Graham. How you going, sir?
Hey, brother.
All right.
Tomo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, man. Yep.
How are you, brother?
It's taken me a while to get this shit sorted. I've had troubles. It wasn't until you dropped me into the conversation that all the crackling and breakup stopped, actually, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I can hear you now.
Oh, that's good.
So this is the first time I've actually got onto any Zoom or any of this stuff.
Don't worry, mate. We're 8 weeks in and still don't know what we're doing.
No, I can run a PA and I can run a mixing console and Zoom. No.
No, that's
Actually,
why
it's
we're musicians.
yeah, it is a credit to Doug De Jong. He's been doing this every week since
Hey,
the
Graham. Hey,
lockdown.
Troy.
And,
Hey,
Yeah, I've been watching a few. They've been great.
And just click, Graham, who you were, because you've been commenting on a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, I
Yes,
get on and
it's
take
good
the
to
piss on
sort of meet you
yeah.
via the portal. How you going, Troy?
Well,
yeah, good man. Hey, feel free to kick me out, mate, and bring Doug back. I gotta do some stuff. So
Okay, cool, man.
Guitars.
And I'll just
All
stop that.
no,
Okay,
I've got to go and do some emails for work, mate. So
okay. See you,
All right,
Troy.
brother. Good to see you.
Righto.
guys.
yeah, guys.
See you, Troy.
And Bergie, I'll get you back in a sec.
Yeah. Graham Thompson is one of the premier bloody harmonica players in the southeast of Queensland. He's been basically doing what Steve and I do up in Toowoomba for, 15 years or more, Graham?
Wow.
Well, getting close to 20 now. Dale said.
Oh,
to me the
really?
other day, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Graham is,
awesome.
Graham drives a lot of the music in Toowoomba, and he's an amazing musician and a great fella. So great to have you on board down here, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I was pretty impressed with that salt. I've only been to one saltwater jam. Bill West.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rang me up and said, "Oh, you got to come to this thing," you know. So I came down. Well, I was actually blown away. There wasn't some of the locals are just fabulous players. Like I was sort of sitting up here thinking, you know, we were sitting on some really good players, and I've been to a few sessions here and there, but then I hit that salty jam, and you got some fabulous players, mate.
Oh, thanks,
It
Graham.
was
It's all,
Yeah,
it's all
thanks,
Pete.
Graham.
It's all Pete.
yeah,
yeah.
there was one guy there playing with his elbows. I wonder who that was.
Yeah.
That guy over at the end, over on the end.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, can't play that solo, but fuck, I got good elbows.
Oh, that's his
We-
signature move,
Sorry,
mate.
not allowed to swear. Sorry. You actually caught me. I was having a makers, so this
Good
is
for
what
it, mate.
happens. Well, it's Friday, no gig, no pub.
That's all right, mate. That's what I'm on.
I'm on the red wine.
Yeah. There we go. I'm sort of wondering how I actually am going to cope with getting a session up and running with all of this, even after July. Like they're talking restrictions in July.
Yeah.
Being lifted, 100, whatever. But a lot of the venues here in Toowoomba aren't that big. So, they're not going to be, my session been pulling in 100, 150, 200 people.
Wow.
So we've not got anywhere where I can put that many in a room. And then you start to wonder, like, say, the last one we did was March, the last week of March, just before everything shut down. So I had 22 musicians there on the day. Well, how do you roll 22 musicians? On and off the stage, sharing microphones, drummers sharing kits, touching, breathing on microphones, and, responsibly and somehow minimise what might be a contact risk if someone shows up and this virus is in the room. Like, have we got to swap a microphone every time a new vocalist gets up? Have we
I
got
think
to
it'd be
wipe
like
down the...
BYO,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yep. Bring your own mic.
Nearly got to be, isn't it?
And have some wipe down any metal and stuff like that. I went to the Pilates for the first time today, and they had restricted numbers in the gym. And basically, after every person had been on a piece of gym equipment, they were wiping it down. There was social distancing, and wash your hands before and after, and pretty well controlled. But it works. So there will be restrictions that'll be going to be tough. I don't know how it's all going to unfold, particularly in the entertainment industry. It's when are we ever going to see a festival again? For goodness' sake.
Yeah, the festival scene's a
next
long way,
year.
long way
Yeah.
off.
But I think
Yeah.
it's going to be like a slingshot. You know, everyone's winding up, and a whiplash. Wrong analogy, because everyone's going to get excited and go out, and then they'll go, "Oh, sorry, we can only have 20 or 50 people at a venue," and then it's going to be a negative effect because people are going, "Well, I'm not going to go out tonight because last time I tried, it was, it's not what I remember it. Is a brand new scene now." And it's only a quarter of the people. So it's going to, you know what I mean? So once you everyone's going to advertise for a great time. You get there and there's only 20 people there. And so therefore, I think the knock-on effect will people go out less because they think, I might not do that.
That's been on my mind as well. And the other thing that's on my mind is because I've been a couple of trips to the local supermarket and whatever else. And you see there's a lot of people that actually aren't really taking it on board that we've got a problem. And I think that's our early success with this lockdown has meant that we haven't seen a lot of cases here in Australia. Like, we didn't become Italy.
Thank God.
There seems to be
That's right.
a complacency. There's a complacency going on. When a trip to supermarket here is scary. You realise that people just aren't taking the rules on board. They're not adhering to the social distancing. Pubs, the worst environment because they're, having a few beers, let their hair down more.
Yeah.
So what worries me is that we are like the politicians have basically kept us in lockdown to get 2,020 ventilators up to 8,000 and said, righto, the hospitals are ready. We can start opening up. We've got our hospitals ready. So there's certainly in the back of the powers to be mind going to be increase in clusters and infection. And if one of these things goes off in the pubs, the media gets a hold of it, that's going to really deter a lot of people from actually showing up. Like if one of these cafes, like what happened in Noosa, becomes a source for an outbreak, like a hotspot, that's the word, for one of these outbreaks like we've seen at that cafe at Noosa, well, what's that going to do to the perception? I mean, people are going to be basically, well, we'll BYO and we'll stay home.
Yeah, it's going to crush business. Yeah, it's
really going to be hard for the band scene to really get going in an environment where people are basically not observing if we had a nation where everyone was towing the line, where they trusted the government, like say some of these Asian countries.
Or Sweden. Sweden's like that.
Sweden.
Yeah. But we've not got that going on. So I really do fear we're going to see a few hot spots. And if they happen to be a pub venue or a club venue, that's going to have a further negative effect. It's just going to be so hard. I'm trying very hard to be positive as a musician, but I'm just sort of looking at it all logically and going, oh, God. What have we got to do?
It's been realistic, Graham. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I think also too, I was speaking to someone in hospitality, it's going to change all the rules with hospo. So especially with servers and cleaners, or let's say glassies. So, you get served your beverage per se, and then the glassy will go around and pick up all the glasses and take them back to the source of where it's actually being made. So my point is they're going to have to segregate. All the dirty glasses are got to go somewhere else, because all you need to do is bring it back to the source where they're all made all their drinks, and then everyone's got it. Everyone who gets a drink, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll be going to plastic cups and be getting thrown in the bin.
Right, one-way traffic.
Well, that's one solution. But and are we going to see a perspex screen between in the middle of the bar, like
already have in most?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. But I think with anything, when there's change involved, there's a certain period of adjustment, and we just all have to endure that period of adjustment and move on to look. Overall, it's going to give us safer practices, regardless of where we're at and what we're doing. It's not all negative. There are good things in everything that happens, there's a positive involved, and you've got to take control of those positives and make them the focus, and then the negatives sort of drift away a bit. But every change is going to incur a period of adjustment, and even when we get back to going and gigging in the pubs and that, there may be a period of time where it all drops back a bit because people are afraid. But once if you follow the safe practices and accept the change that comes with the new environment, then I think it may take a long time. It may take 12 months of after the restrictions allow us to gig to get back to where we were before this happened. It may take that long.
They'd have to have a vaccine before they open the doors fully, I think. Because,
I'm not taking the fucking thing. I can give you the drum right now.
The old environment allowed us to get closer than 6 foot to a woman.
Yeah, which has always been your bloody problem, Graham.
Yes, mate.
He come up with the phrase gap thigh, and that's all.
No.
That's all he's interested in is gap thigh or thigh gap.
Thigh gap.
What they have done particularly well in Australia is.
I hope this is not live.
You let a body condom, Graham.
It is.
They're
God.
not on Facebook, but on YouTube. So just a wider audience. That's all.
I threw you right into it, didn't I?
Yeah, I told you you'd need a beer for this one. But these are the issues. Look, I get what you're saying, Tony. I'd like to be positive, but I'm having trouble. I'm really having trouble. Like the live band scene's about people getting together, letting their hair down, and 6 foot apart. Part of it is, and I know we're making jokes about thigh gap, but part of this whole social thing with the bands is, the fellas getting out and meeting the girls and whatever else. Well, that whole environment's changed in a socially distanced society, and this social distancing thing's going to be going on until they either find effective ways of treating people so that we don't have the ventilator population, or they come up with a vaccine. Yeah. So there's no quick solution here that actually gets us back to that environment that has made the live band scene so attractive over the years.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for
it'll
someone, especially running a session as I have been, to sit here and be, bright about the brave new world future that we might have as bands. So just no thigh gap to start with.
I don't.
It's like I'm having trouble.
Pete, what were you going to say?
I think Australia's done particularly well, and there will be a new normal going forward. And there will, governments will come out with instructions as to how to do it. When they get to the stage of allowing 50 or 100 people in a pub, there'll be, the trick is this is distance. The distancing seems to be working. The hand washing is working, and the big trick with this stuff is traceability. So if you go into a pub and you put your name down, or you've got, you show that you've got that tracing app on your phone, then if you do have a problem, somebody comes along with it, then you can get notified, and there's a hot spot, you can get onto the hot spot very quickly. Just when you talk about Sweden, they have 418 deaths per million of the population. In Australia, we have 4. So comparing Sweden to Australia, it looks good, but it's not that good. If you applied Sweden's death rate to the Australian population, we would have had 10,000 dead by now. So
also too, they're in winter too, right? But we're in summer.
Yep. Australia's doing very well, and the new norm will probably be things like bring your own microphone. Anything that's metal, drummers, bring your own towel and, wipe the drum kit down before you jump on. Those sorts of smart things Well, and if we can do them and think of things you can put forward to keep us safe, then we can get out there and be almost semi back to normal quickly.
Prior to the lockdown and the cancellation of the jam, Steve and I were using Glen 20 on the microphones as regular as we possibly could. We probably could have taken it further to the instruments like the drums that are common use, and I'm sure that once we get back, that will be part of our operating procedures to make sure that if there's a change in drummers, then that equipment will be sprayed down with Glen 20 before we allow the next drummer to sit at the drum kit, and just things like that. And the microphones, I agree. I think if there's a singer coming to the jam, guitarist brings his amp, drummers bring their sticks, singers bring your own mic. It's just going to have to be the policy. And
Right on cue.
and
Straight on the mic.
Hey,
Your
Straight
parrot
on the
just hit the fan. I see feathers.
Yeah, that's Pappy.
It's certainly
gotta
going
be
to
in the
be
show.
easier. It's certainly going to be easier for the regular band.
Yes, it will.
Than running a session, because at least with the
That's
regular
right.
band, the vocalist has got his microphone. You've got one drummer, he's in charge of his drum kit. You've got one guitarist, he's in charge of his gear. So the bands are going to be easier to get back to work. And if we've got an environment where the venue's on board to put some sort of zone between the front of the stage and the band, you've pretty well got a safe environment, because you haven't got that rotating across microphones, etc. It's the session. What worries my big focus up here has been a blues session, and it's been a big one. We get 20, 30 musicians show up on the day, and that's going to be a nightmare. The band,
I hear you, brother, because for me, I'm hands-on, so I do all the sound. I do all the plugging the guitars in.
Well,
mics.
so do I.
So you and I would be at the front line of the contamination, really.
And just the thought of having to change a microphone every time someone decides to get up on the it's like, it's hard enough. It's hard enough.
But you might. Yeah, but you might have a rotation. Like you might have two SM58s. You put one up for one person, then the one that you take down, you give a good thorough cleaning to, and whatever, and you just turn them over. So basically, you get a treated mic each time a new person goes up. It could be smarts like that.
Yeah, either that or we just have to. It's just a matter of putting in place procedures, and the procedures are, normally, most people who come to the jam know that the procedure is that when the band finishes, I make an announcement and announce who the players were, who the next band are, and who those players are. And in the meantime, delegate somebody to come along and clean all the mics except the one I'm using. And at the end of that, clean that up. The other Doug, clean that up, and we're ready to go again. And I think that's probably better than swapping mics out all the time, because you get into that procedure. It's about procedure. Get that procedure happening where as soon as that jam set finishes, you go up and you clean everything while I'm talking, and then the last thing you do is clean the mic that I've been using, and then we're ready to go to the next jam set. And then that way you're guaranteed that everything that's on stage that is common use will be cleaned thoroughly before the next jam set happens.
It's stock up on foam windsocks too, maybe, because
mate.
You could be swapping, pulling out the dirty one, putting it in a box, and putting a clean one on every time someone new gets on the mic.
Yeah, we don't use them at the jam generally, Graham, but I know that.
Well, I don't like them either, but we might have to start using them. That might be.
Using the bare mic, spraying with Glen 20 is not good for the mics either. We have to get some antiseptic wipes that we can use to wipe down every mic and every piece of equipment that's in common use as much as regular as we possibly can. And to be seen to be doing that also will give people the confidence to come along to the jam if they know that our cleaning and sterilising procedures are beyond reproach.
Or no singers.
I was going to say that. No
And
singers.
let's just the singers off, mate. Yeah, just free jamming the whole night.
jam, yeah.
That'd suit me
Singers and
fine.
then drummers.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's
Oh, mate,
all right.
because I'll tell you what, if there's any dramas, it's generally to do with a friggin'
Get them to sing from home via Zoom.
yeah, yeah.
Set up a TV.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Don't worry
But
about
mate,
that.
this comes down to like all the musos, like guitar players, have to bring their own guitars. There'll be no loaner gear as much anymore, in a sense, unless we have to diligently handle that or restrict who handles it.
Well, that happens.
No, I want load guitars the whole time.
Yeah, I know you do, Bert. You're too lazy to bring your own. No, well, for the few times that people use the loan equipment, we will just have to clean it down every time after they've used it.
Yeah.
And think about it, Steve. Seriously, we probably once a night have somebody use a loan guitar. The bass or the guitar that I bring along, and they only get used maybe once a night, twice if at max. But it just means procedures. Get those procedures happening and be really diligent with cleanings equipment so that we appear that we do actually make things safer, but we also appear to be making things safer as well. And that's a big thing.
Well, we've dealt with Graham's Downer issue number 1.
Issue number 2 coming.
I got a number 2.
Yeah, well, and a 3 and a 4.
Yeah. But number 2 is, I think one of the other problems we're going to see, we will see, is that social distancing, like we've got pubs here in Toowoomba, cafes. So, okay, they're opening the place up and they're saying, 100 people after July. But a lot of these premises, the 100 people isn't the cap. It's the 1 per 4 square metre social distancing. If you've got limited floor space, that's going to limit their numbers.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of these smaller venues, I really fear, even when things get going, as long as we're dealing with social distancing, this social distancing in the smaller venues is not going to allow them to trade profitably.
No.
True. I think the bigger venues will cope. They've got a floor space they can accommodate 100, but the smaller venues are going to be limited on the number, and then we're going to see some of their bottom lines just not achievable because with, say, only 20 people that you can fit in the venue, and they probably need 40 to be profitable. So we're going to lose a lot of these smaller venues.
I heard. I don't know what the local rules are up here at the moment, but I know down south when there's 100 rule for the clubs and pubs, they're saying that's the whole venue. They're saying 20 per room. So, they could have a bistro, a restaurant, game and bar, whatever, but they're saying 100 is the maximum for the whole venue, not only 20 per room.
There'll be no bands involved in that. That'll be solo artists to start with.
I queried that at the Saltwater, and I think everyone's a bit, how would you say, they're not 100% sure on what the regulations are, because that's what's been stipulated down south. That has been mandatory. Like with the Saltwater, that they could have 100 people in the restaurant and 100 people in the bar at any one time because the rooms are totally segregated.
Yeah.
You got to remember too that like all these rules are getting made up on, they're getting made up on the hop.
Yeah,
we haven't had this before. So it's like, okay, today 100 people. Tomorrow it could be 150. It could be 50 people. You know what I mean? I got a friend who works in the ALH in whatever division, just because it's on the net. Don't need to say. And the ALH pubs are talking about 100 people in September. But old mate, who's a premier, is getting that much pressure to open the borders, right? I think the point is now is everyone is that anyone who's got power of decision making is that shit scared to make a decision to undo something, you know, because if you undo it and something happens, you're the one. You'll be known as the one that's. And Palaszczuk is shitting her pants. She wants, if she had her way, she'd be like old Joe, Banana Republic. No one's allowed in, and I can never be blamed for anything.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Pandemic.
Don't worry about what's good for the people in the mass. Worry about covering your fucking ass.
What will happen, I honestly believe, but what will happen is I can't even stand this whole, it's the new normal. Fucking new normal. I don't wear it. I don't wear it. Every one of my mates, all they want to do is have a schooner in a pub. I do not want to drink a plastic schooner, and I will not drink a plastic schooner. It will come back to normal. It's not the end. You know what I mean? Not even talking Muso-wise. You know, right now, there's no social distancing on a dance floor. So you can forget every band that's ever had a band because you cannot social distance on a dance. What, you're going to put a hula hoop around you so you don't bump into the next person while you get what I mean? It doesn't work. You know what I mean?
We don't really know any of the answers to this. At this stage, it's guesswork.
Exactly. There are no answers. And everyone who puts an opinion in, the bubble gets bigger with what in Christ's name is going on.
But what we know now, we've had just under 100 deaths in Australia. It's a very, very low figure out of 24 million. So we may be able to come out of this faster than we think. And Doug's analogy earlier on about, you know, slingshotting out of this, it might be some draconian restrictions to start with, but given a fairly short amount of time, we could be back to pretty well normal, hopefully, fairly quickly. But we won't know until until we get there.
Don't see a lot of clusters happening as we open up. Like, this is the most risky time. This time where we actually ease restrictions and people start getting back out and about. This is the time that'll make them or break us.
Well, that's where you need those procedures, and you need traceability procedures. And if you've got those, and you do have a breakout, and you jump on them, then that gives that gives everybody a level of confidence. And I think we'll get instructions as to what to do. But I think bands, particularly the jam situation is going to be tricky for a while. They may not even allow it.
I don't think it'll happen. As long as that word social distancing is happening, you're gonna instantly, you can't dance with your missus in front of a band.
It's certainly going to change a lot of people's opinion about whether it's actually worth going out.
But by the same token, if you keep 1.5 meters between everyone from now until the end of time, well, Christ almighty, it's all over, mate. No one reproduces. That and then
you hear me right,
1.5 meters. You've got to get closer.
Brings me back to the thigh gap conversation.
No, thigh gap.
Exactly. And everyone that I ever got was on a dance floor. You know what I mean? Like
I've got a feeling Mother Nature will find its way through this.
I tell you now, they can't. The right now is the wave hasn't broken yet, but the wave's growing and everyone's shitting themselves and everything's great. But after the wave breaks, and suddenly it's not so bad as it's rolling through, then life becomes a little bit more normal. It's going to be months. It's going to take
a long time.
I'll tell you what.
The vaccine's got to be here, and then people are comfortable with that. Otherwise, there's no point in opening up anything. There's no normal until people are cured of it before it happens.
I'll tell you what, but whether you like it or not, whether you're a sports guy or not, like NRL starts tonight. Yeah, and I'm a full blown sports nut. So mate, this is like a wet dream with the sports happening tonight, right? But that is the first step of someone going like, come on, enough's enough. We've got to start. And you get one start, and then the AFL in 2 weeks is going to start, and then this starts, and then suddenly having a band in a pub is not as big a issue as it was. The freeway is already starting to get more people on it. People, you cannot keep everyone down. The traffic is starting, but people are going back to their work. You know what I mean? You cannot. Total lockdown will never, ever, ever work. It works for a short time.
The population's not going to put up with it for too long. I agree with
Exactly.
Yeah,
So you've got to have a bit of common sense. You must have common sense, right? I think if we left all women out of the public bars, then all, that's the first step. Up. Right?
And all tall women out of the lounges.
Shit, yeah. And if all women did ironing and blokes could just walk to work neat and tidy. She can't hear me. She can't hear me. She's up there. She can't hear me.
Greggy, you are an absolute bloody thrill seeker. You are.
Oh,
you run for Parliament, I vote for you.
Mate, I tell you what.
Graham, do you think that, even if they allow things, rather than running your sessions as infrequently as you do, that doing them more frequently and accepting lesser numbers, that over the period of time that will grow for you so that you can have a weekly session or whatever and have that crowd grow as things get accepted?
Well, I used to run for years monthly. I was running a monthly blues session. And we had fair amount of support, but when we made the move to one of the bigger venues here, Fitzy's, and the beer garden at the Norval as well.
Yep.
We sort of, as a group of me, because it's not just my ball game, Damien's involved, Dale's involved, Bobby's involved, a lot of the locals all have a say. I mean, it's a dictatorship, but I listen to what they tell me. And they sort of said, well, keep it lean, keep them keen. And then we sort of decided to go 3 monthly or, on organised dates. So we're doing about 3 or 4 a year now rather than 1 a month. And soon as we did that, the crowds went from 50 to 80 into the hundreds. And because they're dead right, people were hanging out. So everyone says, the session's on, we're going to go. And it makes for a better attractive day for the musicians because they're getting that good packed room crowd that gets that energy going that the musicians love.
You don't have to play.
And it makes a better day for the crowd. So I'm not sure I actually want to go back to the more regular function. I'm not sure I want.
But that was under the environment pre-COVID, mate. What I'm saying to you is that if you have it more regularly, and even if you only get 10 people there, that to me gives you a ground to, as people get used to.
10 people doesn't put enough money over the bar to cover costs.
Yeah, I know, but hey, instead of getting $600 to run it every 3 months, get $100 to run it every week.
You should know by now I'm difficult.
I know you are, mate. That is the fucking biggest understatement I've heard all night.
Where do you advertise? Where do you advertise, Graham? I want to come up to the next one whenever it is.
I've got most of the information's on the Facebook page, the Ugly Session. That's me, Ugly.
Ugly Graham.
Yeah, that's me. So if you just type the Ugly Session, you'll find it.
And where was this at Fitzy's at Logan?
No, we were at Fitzy's. The last one I did.
right, yeah.
We made a move to Tats. So I'm just not sure what venue, if when something happens again, because for years I was running out of the Norval, but the Norval sort of shut its doors last year or early this year before all of this happened. So it's gone anyway.
Yeah.
So we were already losing pubs here in Toowoomba. The pubs in Toowoomba a lot of the pubs have been struggling pre-COVID. So this virus coming along's not made it any easier. If some of these pubs were already having a tough time with their bottom line, I think that's the same everywhere. We've seen the Boundary Hotel close in Brisbane. A lot of pubs closing everywhere. So a lot of pubs were struggling before this virus came along, and this is just a nail in the coffin for a lot of them, unfortunately.
Some of them may not survive, and we haven't seen the damage. We haven't seen the damage yet. It'll take till August, September till we really see what the fallout of this.
And there will be damage. There will be damage, especially on the the smaller venues.
Looking at the positive, the one positive that may happen out of this is that Coles and Woolworths get rid of fucking pubs.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
And if that happens, privately owned institutions don't want 5-to-1 return on their outlay to call it viable. And that's the thing. That's with Coles and Woolworths. If they loan out $100, they need a minimum of $500 to make it viable.
Well,
now, if they're paying $500, they want $2,500 over the bar to make it viable. Now, that's an equation Coles and Woolworths apply. Your normal privately owned place like even the Saltwater. The Saltwater's a great example because Friday nights they were putting on duos and fucking solo artists, paying $500 a night to get 6 people in the bar. 6 people in the bar.
That's because duos suck.
Right now, Steve and I went in there.
Not if you and I got together, but
Steve and I walked into the Saltwater, and within 3.5 minutes of saying we can provide a minimum of 50 people every Friday night with our jam, we had the job, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah.
It was like...
And you're doing that. You're certainly doing that.
And that's our minimum. That was our minimum. We're getting an average of 70, 80, 90 people every Friday night. Plus, we've got Springwood going as well. We're doing 2 nights a week. It's just... Springwood Saltwater absolutely fucking love us. They cannot. I think it's beyond their wildest dreams that they've gotten us in there and that we bring such a huge crowd every Friday night.
Well, we're all missing
Friday night,
and we're all missing it. I'm missing playing.
I just need to. Sorry, I don't want to. We'll continue this conversation in a second. I'm just going to jump off live, and we can keep continuing. Is that cool?
I'm going to say see you later. I've got to take off. So
okay, okay. I'll get Bergie back on.
Out, Doug.
Oh no, everyone stay on. But all right, everyone stay on. So thank you for watching tonight's Gold Coast Jam, and please like and subscribe and share. And we had a Facebook interruption, but anyway, rock and roll. It's still live on YouTube. So if you are still watching, hello. And please subscribe. And I will put this up here. Where is my... There we go. I need some friends. Anyway, have a good night. See you again next time.